Kia ora and welcome to CIO Leadership Live. I'm your host, Kathy O'Sullivan, editor for CIO New Zealand. I'm delighted to welcome our guest today, Sue McLean, Chief Technology Officer for the Greater Wellington Regional Council. Hello, Sue.
Howdy, Mike. Good morning.
Good morning, Morena. So first, to kick things off, can you please tell us a little bit more about your role and what your team at the Greater Wellington Regional Council does?
Cool. So the role of Chief Technology Officer is quite broad. It not only keeps the lights on, but also thinks strategically about what is the mahi that is coming down the pipeline and what are the outcomes for the organisation and what's our role in that. I have a team of about 50 people, give or take. We breathe in and breathe out as we need to. And we do everything in relation to ICT from a on-premise tech bar, walk-up tech bar, service desk kind of thing, right through to enterprise architecture, strategic thinking, and all the bits and bobs in between.
Great. So then just thinking about your team and your role as CTO, but CIO for, they're pretty interchangeable these days. Yeah. Can you tell us in what ways you collaborate and influence your organization and its leadership team?
Great question. The collaboration occurs in two ways. We've opened up a channel so that people can ask us anything, ask questions, and it really teases out some of the thinking that the organisation is thinking about with regards to what initiatives they might be wanting to work on. Then we also have a bit more of a push. So we are great at telling stories. So we try to get engaged with the business and understand what are their wicked problems they're trying to solve, and then get in there with some storytelling with them to see how digital and technology can actually help them unpack some of those stories.
And your team recently won Best ICT Team Culture Award at the recent CIO Awards. So can you tell us a bit more about how you're leading that culture, how you are creating an environment that allows individuals to thrive, both professionally and personally?
Cool. There's probably two things that we've done. And one is lead the way that I want the organisation to become. So I bring my whole self to work, that saying, but along with that comes my personality, my vulnerability, my sense of humour, my dog sometimes, we are allowed to be human at work. And I know the names of every single person's dog and cat, but I also just take a care and responsibility to make sure that they're enjoying their work because they're spending a good proportion of their time with me. So I want to make sure that that's a positive experience. The second thing we did was introduce Agile as a way of working. And it's not just we're doing Agile, it's really adopting those principles and those mindsets that comes with Agile, which creates this sense of pride. Every morning you're doing your stand-up, you're talking about the mahi that you're going to do. Every 2 weeks you do a demo of the value that you've created. Every week you're working with people that are working on the same problem or the same solution, and it's just a real sense of pride and safety that comes out of that.
So great work, and great to see that your team has been recognised for that culture and led by you. One of the things that does underpin team culture and there's a lot more focus on is diversity. And IT, it has been a shocker in recent years for, our teams not necessarily reflecting the country that we live in. So can you tell us a bit more around your approach to diversity, and what do you think are some practical things that can be done to attract more diverse candidates to IT roles?
This is a really interesting and a problem that's been around way too long. It's annoying that we're still having this conversation so many years down the track. We should be looking at a team that reflects what Aotearoa looks like, and in ICT that's really hard to crack for some reason. We're doing okay here. We've got about 36% in gender in a very loose way of measuring diversity as far as female participation is concerned. But that's not every version of diversity that we should be looking at. We need to make sure that when people come to work, they feel safe and included. And I often wonder as managers, are we afraid to hire someone that might disagree with us? Are we making it easy on ourselves by hiring somebody that we know will just get along and or they've got the right culture or the right sense of purpose or something that we think we can gauge from an hour-long interview? So I remember an interview I did in Bangalore, actually, looking for a test lead. And I asked them all, what do they do when they're not working? Which was a really unusual question to ask, apparently, back in the day in India. And they all said, of course, watching cricket. And was the stock standard answer. It was just a couched answer. Then this one woman said, I like to move the furniture around to see the look of my husband's face when he gets home. And I hired her on the spot because I thought that's what I want. Somebody who will try just different things out, will take a risky answer in an interview with a person from another country to lead up an organisation. It was just looking for that kind of different diversity, and diversity comes in all forms. It's not just male or female, but it's about diversity of thought. And as I said, I've got one of the most diverse teams I've had in a long time, and my leadership team is really made up of human-centric type people. By hiring those types of people into your leadership team, that kind of encourages that diversity, that encourages different ways of solving problems and really good interviewing, I guess, techniques.
So then, great points there, and certainly something I think a lot of technology leaders in New Zealand are really looking at. So when you think about your own career, what are some of the, I guess, mistakes or things that you've really learned from? You spoke earlier about, bringing your whole self to work and being vulnerable with your team. When you look back on your own career, what are the things that shaped you as a leader?
So I think the biggest mistake I've made was thinking I had to have all the answers. And I thought management and leadership were one of the same things. So I would get given a problem and I would solve it and then tell everybody, we need to, paint that door black. That's what the answer is. There was I don't know what moment it was in my career, but I just realized that I couldn't have all the answers and I needed to hire the talent in, and I'm just loving it. It's amazing to actually hire really good talent, throw them the problem and then just watch them nut it out and then give them the credit for it. And this is what is getting recognized where I am, is that they know I have a really good leadership team working with me, and I adore it. It's just so much fun to work with people and actually elevate them and show them what they're capable of.
So then what advice would you give to aspiring IT leaders? We don't have enough women in these chief technology officer, CIO roles. What would your advice be to someone who wants to take that next step?
Probably the same advice that I got, which is be you, and please be you. That's why I was getting hired into jobs, because I could break through those barriers. I was good at telling stories in a way that wasn't technical, that didn't alienate the business away from technology and digital. So being yourself, being vulnerable, opening up, and if especially like restructures is something that happens quite a lot in technology. It's okay to go in with the team and say, I'm worried about this restructure too, but let's work out what would we think would be ways that we can make it successful, and try and divert the conversation, hear out the pain and the fear, but divert the conversation into what can we do? What sort of things would you like us to try? Leading my transformation, I stood up in front of my original ICT team and basically said, I don't have a picture yet, and I want you to help me draw the picture of what do you think the structure should look like. Here's a basic operating model. This is how we need to operate. This is the mahi that we have to do. These are the outcomes of the organisation. Please help me draw what that structure should look like so that we can deliver to that future.
And how was that received by the team? Were they on board?
They were disappointed. They wanted to see.
Hard.
I know. They wanted to see an org chart. They were, they're so used to restructure meetings going, and here's a new structure, and you're all disestablished. It was unique in our one because we were increasing our headcount by 28, which is huge, and that comes with a challenge in itself. But what I wanted them to, because I'd only been in there for a few months and then we went into lockdown, I really didn't get an opportunity to get to know every single moving piece inside the council. So I needed their help. What do you know? What do you know I don't know? And all that kind of conversation was important. We had 93 individual submissions from 17 people, of their feedback, their thoughts, their ideas, and it was fantastic. And it really opened up what I was able to achieve. So they all feel part of the transformation because they helped build it and helped colour in some of the bits that were unknown to me at the time.
Clearly a very engaged team.
Yeah.
And look, there has been a lot of change in your organization, as you said, over the last while, with your agile transformation. We've also had COVID in the last few years. So how is your organization changing when it comes to remote working and hybrid work? I mean, what do you think the future of work looks like? Is hybrid the norm going forward?
Yeah, I think so. And my dog, Basil, was really happy about that. I think there's a cartoon that goes around that's saying that dogs actually started it so they could have their owners at home. My biggest concern is around the communities and the lack of people, and I'm talking about CBD communities, cafes, restaurants, that don't have that pass-through, I guess, of people coming into town. Devastating just watching some of the local cafes close. And I hope we can recover from that. The hard bit is the hybrid part. It's actually easy when everyone was working from home because we're all online. And it's easy when everybody was in the office because we're all in the office. That hybrid is the thing that's really kind of tripping us up a little bit, especially for some of our meetings. I'll be in the office and there'll be 2 of us in the room and then 6 online. And it's, you're constantly looking up and around and you're not quite sure who's talking. People put their hand up in the meeting, but they don't inside the room because you just have that natural interruption pattern. So it's as a chair of the meeting, you have to pay a lot more attention about what's going on, and that can be quite tiring for people that are running virtual meetings all day. So yeah, there's no easy answer. I guess in time we'll get used to it. I'm a people person, so I'm desperately missing seeing all the people, and my dog really isn't a good conversationalist, but he tries his best. And yeah, so I'm really, there's a couple of people even that came in to work today, and it was the first time they've been in for ages, and they're just, people, you can see them having that 3D experience with people was quite different and enjoyable.
And it's always good to connect, isn't it, and be back in the office and have those water cooler conversations. And unfortunately, the dogs miss out on that. But as you say, sometimes Basil comes to work with you, which is great. Yeah,
he's good.
So if I just bring it back then to leadership, the role of a CIO is changing. So what do you think are the key attributes of a successful modern day CIO in terms of leadership?
People first, absolutely. I think that there's been a real shift change, and hiring intelligent technologists and somebody who's implemented an ERP system before, or somebody that's done a whole lot of mahi in technology is important. But what is more important is somebody who can lead people and take them on a journey and transform and understand how to get human-centric design into the services that we deliver digitally, especially when we're trying to create a citizen-centric public service. You really need to have people working at the leadership level that understand about user experience and human-centric design. I think that's probably the first thing. Being vulnerable, being fair, and being firm, and being consistent. So being fair means creating a safe environment for people to work. So you're thinking about the way that you work, not so much the widgets that you're delivering. Being firm means when there is like an attack or anything on your people. You know, I turn into a lioness, and I absolutely defend my people if they've not done any wrong. And you know, I pride myself on that because I want my people to feel supported and safe as well. And you get a lot of attacks in council, and you get a lot of attacks at service desk of, don't you know what you're doing, kind of stuff, which is really disheartening for the person that's trying to do their job. So I think that's probably the things: being fair, being firm, and being vulnerable, and being you.
Yeah, and it is incredibly challenging, I guess. The council does have, it has limited budget. You are, funded primarily by ratepayers. So when it comes to things like trying to fill IT roles, but you are restricted with budget, what are the kind of things that you're doing to attract people to roles in your organization?
For us, it's a connected narrative to why we're here, and so the outcomes around Greater Wellington and the region resonates and connects to a lot of people. So when people are applying for our roles, they're understanding that we've declared a climate emergency. They understand they're working for an organisation that takes climate change seriously. They understand that they're working for the environment that they live in. So there's a real connected narrative in there, which I think is important for everyone. There's a lot of other benefits that we have as part of our employee value program around 5 weeks annual leave. We've got 2 days wellbeing leave, which is free and added on to annual leave, and is taken. It's just I've had enough day, and they've been very popular. Last year, in lieu of the year before last, in lieu of salary increases, because all public sector had a cap on that, our organisation gifted everybody the leave between Christmas and New Year. So that was just an extra bonus, and it just about balanced out anyway. But for a lot of people, that was important. That time with whānau was more important than a couple of extra dollars. So, but it's a great organisation, a great leader. Our CE and our ELT, our executive leadership team, really a bunch of human-centric people as well. So I think I'm really fortunate and blessed where I am, and that's not a model that you see a lot of, but this good leadership does start from the top.
And then finally, Sue, you've had quite a lot in the last couple of years. What's on the cards for the next few months? What's important to you for the rest of the year? For us in ICT, we've had 2 years focusing on people and getting our operating model right and getting our brand. Now we get to focus actually on that technology and connecting to the business and understanding what are the big rocks that they've got going and how do we manoeuvre and work around them. For me personally, it's actually letting go of the CIO reins and handing them to my successor as I go into an acting up role for 6 months. And I admire the person that I'm passing the mantle to. He works for me now, and I've learned so much from him in the last 2 years, and he was instrumental in getting the agile mahi into our culture. So it's really exciting to watch. It's great to be able to step aside and let somebody else take the reins and see what they can do that's different and learn from that. So yeah, it's going to be a challenge. Great, and I think that's an awesome thing that you're doing. The job of a leader is also to create more leaders. So kia ora for that.
Thank you. Ka pai.
Thank you for your time today, Sue.
Oh, thank you, Kathy. It was a privilege. Thank you.